Hi and welcome back to Learn Python by Doing number 3. So in this video we're going to talk about the enumerate function. So what does the enumerate function do? It adds a counter to an iterable and returns an enumerate object. So remember, an iterable right now are lists, dictionaries, tuples, strings, etc. And remember that the zip function returned a zip object that was an iterator. The enumerate function similarly returns an enumerate object, which is also an iterable. So this enumerate function is very useful if we combine it with for loops, and we're going to see that in a moment. So let's create a list that is going to be a fruits list and will contain apple, pineapple, lemon, watermelon, and grapes. Okay, now we're going to create the enumerated fruits, and this will be enumerate fruits. And let's print enumerated fruits to see what happens. So as expected, this returned an enumerate object, as I told you, and you can create a list out of these enumerated fruits because it's an iterator. So let's create a list, and now this returns a list of tuples. So let's see what the first tuple has. So the first element of the first tuple is 0, and the second element is apple. So you can see that 0 is the index of apple in the fruits list. In the second tuple, we have in the first element 1, which is the index of pineapple in the fruits list. In the third tuple, you can see 2, which is the index of lemon in the fruits list. Okay, but we can make this number start from an arbitrary number. So we specify the parameter start and let's say 5. So right now 5 is not the index of apple in the fruits list. So we cannot interpret this as the index of apple in the fruits list, but it created this counter which increments by 1. So we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's what this start parameter do. So if we omit the start parameter, now we can interpret this as the index of apple in the fruits list. And this is very useful as I told you, if we combine it with for loops. So let's say for some reason we have to map these fruits to some file. So we're going to say for index element in enumerate fruits, then we're going to create a file name, and this is going to be, I don't know, file. Let's create a formatted string, file index dot jpg, I don't know, and then you do something with the file and the element, and lastly you print the file name. So it created file 0 dot jpg, sorry, file 1 dot jpg, and so on. So we can make this start from 1. Now this is file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4, file 5. So this may not seem as useful right now, but believe me, is extremely useful. And this functionality is already included in some programming languages, so you don't have to make these enumerate objects in programming languages like JavaScript. So I'm just going to demonstrate this. If you don't want to watch this, then go to the next video. But we're going to create this same fruits list but in JavaScript it's going to be an array. So let's just copy and paste because this also works in JavaScript. And let's say fruits. And in order to do a for loop, we can say for each. And here we can say element and index. So this is the other way around. And we're going to say console log. And let's say we're going to do an interpolation here. It's going to be file. We say this index.jpg. So as you can see, it's the same result, file 0, file 1 until file 4. So as you can see, I didn't have the necessity to create an enumerate object. This is already a functionality of JavaScript, and it's very, very useful because sometimes you use this index in order to pass it as a key for some component so it can be unique. So don't worry if you don't understand this, but believe me, this is very, very useful. So I hope you like this video and see you in the next one.